Om Sarve Sukhina Santu Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukhamapnuyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from disease. May all beings see what is good in others. May no one have to undergo any suffering. Om peace, peace, peace be unto all. Our subject today is the sadhana of giving. Sadhana means spiritual practice. So the spiritual practice of giving, or giving as a spiritual practice. This has been stressed in all religions, the idea of charity or generosity, or dhanam in Sanskrit. All religions tell us that we are supposed to be generous, selfless to others. In one of the oldest scriptures, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, you find a nice story to illustrate this. So once the gods, the demons, and the human beings approached the creator, Prajapati, to ask him for instruction. So first the demons went to Prajapati, and the creator told them, Da. That was one syllable. That was all the instruction they got. Have you understood? Yes, we have understood. It means dayatvam, be kind to others. Because the demons are cruel by nature. So when they heard da, they understood in that way. We have to be kind to others. Then the gods came to the creator and asked, give us instruction. And the creator said, da, same thing. And they understood, damyata, control yourselves, because the gods are supposed to be given to enjoyment all the time. So restrain yourselves. Don't be running after pleasures all the time. Then the human beings came to Prajapati and asked the same question. And he said, Da. That means datta, which means be generous, be unselfish. So human beings knew that they are self-centered. That is the nature of all human beings. We want self-preservation. So the teaching, as understood by the human beings, is be generous. So the Upanishad further says that whenever there is a thunderstorm, the thunder reminds us of this teaching of Prajapati, da, 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 supposed to say. So control yourself, be kind, and be generous. That's the teaching of the Creator. Once I read in a book, not a particularly religious book, but there was a nice statement. Somebody said that my grandmother used to say that whatever you keep to yourself, you lose. And whatever you give to others is yours forever. Now, how to make sense of this statement? It doesn't seem to make sense. What I keep, I will lose. And when I give away, is mine forever. So when you read the Mahabharata, there is a passage where Yudhishthira is asked, what goes with a person after death? What do we take with us when we leave this world? And the answer given by Yudhishthira is dharma. Dharma means righteousness. So whatever good things we have done in our lives, that will go with us after death. And of course, adharma too. Whatever mistakes we have made, that will go with us as well. Everything else will be left behind. Relatives, property, money. We know it's a fact. Everything will be left behind. But still we cling to it. is pretty irrational. But, we think that these things will be with us forever. But the truth is, what goes with us after death is this: dharma and adharma. Whatever good we have done, and whatever mistakes we have made as well. So if you take it from that perspective, whatever you keep, you lose. Whether it is today, tomorrow, or at the time of death. But it's 100% certain. There's no question about it. There's no chance that we can keep it. Whatever is ours, we will lose. It's a matter of time. Whatever we give away is as ours forever. How? We have helped somebody. That action of helping somebody goes with us after death. So whatever you give to others is yours forever in that sense. That good action, that merit is yours forever. So that is the gist of what Vedanta has to say. That is dharma and adharma. They cling to us life after life throughout our existence. So we are going to see why give, why share with others, why are we supposed to do that, why all religions tell us to be generous. What is the reason behind it? Then what can we share with others? What can we give? And finally, how to give. Is there a specific way to give, or you just give, there's no restrictions. So we'll see all these things. So first is why give? Why should I give to others? There are two reasons. One is because we have to. We have no choice. So life is give and take. If you one day decide, I won't give anymore, I won't pay my taxes, I won't take care of my children, I won't help my wife or husband, I'll just live for myself. Enough of giving, no more. We can't function. Life is give and take. Until the last day of our lives, it is give and take. You can't help it. Even if you are bedridden in a hospital, helpless, you are giving work to the nurse who is looking after you. So you are always giving. Even in the state of utter helplessness, you are still giving something to somebody. To the cook that fixes your meals, you are giving work. So, why give? One reason is because we have to. If you don't pay the taxes, either you go to jail or something like that. It will not be pleasant. So you have to pay your taxes. So you're getting trash collection, you're getting fire, the fire department will come if there is a fire in your house, etc., etc. All these services you are paying through the taxes. If you don't pay the taxes, they won't give you anymore. You are giving and you're taking. So that is one aspect. You give because you have to. There is no choice. The other one is, I give because I want to. It's a big difference. I don't need to. Nobody expects. I'm not supposed to give, and yet I give. So that is a spiritual action. When we give, not because we are expecting something in return, not because we are supposed to give, but because we want to give. It is our free choice. We want to give. Swami Vivekananda says, why should we do good to the world? Apparently to help the world, but really to help ourselves. It's an interesting statement. When we think we are helping others, we are really helping ourselves, according to Swami Vivekananda. So everything in nature, when you look at the universe, how it functions, you just cannot give something without taking something. Suppose you have a container full of water and one container is empty. Now you pour the water from this container to that. Now this one is empty and this is full. You transfer the water. But the air that was here now comes here. So what I mean is when you are giving, you have to take. You just cannot give and not take. So if you are not getting something in exchange, it will be something subtle. But you are getting something whenever you give to others, whenever you help others. Just like when you pour the water, you are getting the air. You can't help it. You cannot say, no, I'll pour the water, but I don't want any air to enter the bowl. There's no way. If you pour the water, the air will fill in. So in the same way, when you give to somebody, you will get something. And Swami Vivekananda says, when we help the world, we really help ourselves. There is something psychologists call the helper's high. Some people get high on drugs. Well, apparently you can get high on doing good to others. So this is a proven, it's not a theory. There are studies that have been done on this, and they found that whenever we do something for others, it is followed by a reduction in our stress and an increase in our well-being. And they have measured this. It's pretty universal. When you do things for others, somehow it helps. You have better health, you have longer lifespan, etc. So this is the helper's high. Lincoln said, to ease another's heartache is to forget one's own. To ease somebody else's heartache is to forget one's own. That means, for the time being, when I am doing something for another person, I'm forgetting myself, at least for that long. So if we are self-centered, we are always thinking, what will happen to me? And that naturally will build up stress. I'm worried about myself too much. Then one day I decided, let me do something for this person. Then that day, I forget about myself. I am busy with that person. How can I help that person? So to ease somebody else's troubles is to forget one's own troubles. So we all get joy when we get something, when we get a gift, when we get help. But there is joy also in giving, not only in receiving. There's a nice story once. There was a hiker hiking along the river after a big flood, and she came across a gold nugget that had become exposed. So she picked it up and was looking at it. And then another hiker came along and said, oh, you're so lucky you found this gold nugget. And she said, do you want it? Yes, but it's yours. You found it. I wish I had come 2 minutes early, then I would have found it. Then she said, no, if you want, here it is. It's yours. So the man was perplexed. How come you're giving it to me just like that? And she explained, look, if I own it, if I keep it to myself, I have the joy of owning it. If I don't keep it to myself, I have the joy of giving it away. I can have joy both ways. There is joy in collecting things and keeping things to ourselves. But there is also joy in sharing with others. So many people don't understand this second type of joy. It's very natural for us to feel joy when we get help, when we get something. But it's something that we have to develop the capacity to appreciate the joy of not keeping, of sharing with others. It's a different type of joy. So the conclusion is, why should we give to others? Because it really will help us. Because we are all one. We are not giving. We are giving and receiving at the same time. Now, the second question is, what to give? Swami Vivekananda says, first comes the gift of food, next the gift of learning, and the highest gift is the gift of spiritual knowledge. By food, he means material help. That is a gift. When you give something material to somebody else, that is the first type of gift. The second one is the gift of learning. When you teach somebody how to do something, when you teach a skill, a science, you are also giving a gift. In India, there is a higher appreciation of this. You see, in our Western culture, if you are teaching me music or whatever, fitness or whatever it is, I pay you, you teach me, it's a transaction. There's not much respect involved. But in India, I noticed when somebody is a teacher, even in secular matters, they are gurus. They are considered like gurus. Even if they are teaching music, even if they are teaching something secular, they are highly respected. Now you may say, why do you need to respect? You're paying money, that should be enough. It's a transaction. He's getting money from you, and he's teaching you. But no, in India they say that is the gift of learning. If that person didn't have that knowledge, you couldn't get it. You are getting it thanks to that person who has acquired that knowledge. They are making it possible for you to acquire that knowledge. So you should respect them. It's a higher type of gift. So material gift, then the gift of learning. Another way to explain the gift of learning, suppose somebody is hungry and you feed them. So you have helped them, but then in the evening they're hungry again. So instead of feeding them, you teach them how to cook and how to grow the vegetables. Now you have solved their problems for life. So that is how the gift of learning is higher than the material gifts. In the Vedanta society, we find this in a different way. So some people will write a check and say, Swami, this is a donation for the Vedanta society. That's wonderful. But some people will say, Swami, I want to cook for you, I don't know, once a month. Or I want to clean the shrine once a month. That's a different type of help. When you write a check, you're done. You forget about it, you get on with your life. When you say, I'll come once a month and do this, you are committing. You are committed. Your bond is closer. You write the check and you forget. You're done. When you say, once a month, once a week, I'll do this, it's a closer connection. You're getting involved in the work. You're working together. So writing a check would be the material gift, which is great. And service would be more like the gift of learning. It's a little higher when you're giving your time, when you are committing. So you can see how money, which is considered like charity is money, really it's a lower type of charity. When you're doing things yourself, when you're investing your time, that's more valuable than money. You are giving your own life. You are giving your own time. And the highest gift is the gift of spiritual knowledge. Now the problem is, to give that gift, you have to have it. If I'm a beggar, how can I give the gift of spiritual knowledge? So only a person who is illumined can give that gift. That is why we respect so much the guru, because the spiritual teacher gives us the highest gift, the gift of spiritual knowledge, illumination. And that will solve all our problems. So we have material problems, we have different type of problems, like psychological problems, and we have also like existential problems, like death. Death is an existential problem. We all have that problem. We'll have to deal with it sooner or later, all of us. So spiritual knowledge even helps with this existential problem of death, that we are all afraid of death. So Swami Vivekananda tells a nice story. Alexander the Great, when he came to India, he was conquering in Asia, and he came to India, and he came across a sage under a tree. And he had a conversation with the sage, and he was very impressed by the wisdom of this sage. So Alexander said, please come to my court. I would like to continue listening to your wisdom. And the sage said, no, thank you. I don't feel like moving. This forest is very suitable for me. I don't want to go anywhere else. Then Alexander said, I'll give you a lot of treasures and gold and servants, and you'll have a very good life. Please come with me. And the sage said, no, I have everything I need. I have this clear water from the river. I have the fruit from the trees. I have a nice hut. I don't need anything, all your treasures. I don't need anything else. I will not come. Then Alexander said, well, in that case, I will chop off your head. if you don't come. And the sage laughed. And he said, that is the greatest lie you have ever told, that you will kill me. That's the greatest lie you have ever told. You can never kill me. Yes, you can chop off the head of the body, but you can never kill me. So that is what comes with spiritual illumination, the gift of spiritual knowledge. Even the existential problems that we all have are solved. We are no longer afraid of death. We can laugh at somebody threatening to kill us even. So, we are dealing with the question, what to give? Swamiji said, first comes the material gift, second comes the gift of learning, and finally comes the spiritual gift. Swamiji continues, in the world, always take the position of the giver. Give everything and look for no return. Give love, give help, give service, give any little thing you can. Let us give out of our own bounty, just as God gives to us. So in the world, there are two types of people, givers and takers. And we are a mixture of both. We give and take. But you will find at work, at home, everywhere, that some people are more of a giver and some people are more of a taker. Nobody's purely a giver, nobody's purely a taker, but you see some people have an angle, like, what can I get from this? And some people have at the other angle that, what can I do in this situation? Like they say there are two types of people when they enter a room. One type says, here I am. They enter a room and they say, here I am. The other type says, there you are. When they enter the room, they say, there you are. So you can be a giver, or you can be a taker. So Swamiji says, always take the position of the giver. Give everything and look for no return. Give love, give help, give service, give any little thing you can. It's an interesting order. He could have said so many things, but the first thing he says is give love. Now, imagine if somebody is fundraising and you say, I want to give love. They will be mad at you. Somebody says, give love, give help, give service. And then at the end, give any little thing you can, like material things are little things. But first comes love. You see, with kids, nowadays, they have so many issues, anxiety. They are getting everything. They have the best houses, the best medical attention, the best education, the best holidays, the best gadgets. What's missing? They have everything. Love, help, service. That's what Swamiji says. Give love, give help, give service. So the parents, instead of giving so many little things, should prioritize more giving time and love. And, you don't need everything to be first class, but let there be love first. How do we show our love? By giving time, showing attention. So Swamiji says, give love, give help, give service. Let us give out of our own bounty, just as God gives to us. So it is God that is giving us everything. Whatever we have, material or spiritual, whatever we get, it comes from God. So where to find God in this world? Suppose you want to find God in this world. Where is God? Everybody says God is nowhere to be found. Atheists, that's their big argument. Show me God. There is no God. There is so much suffering. It's a very valid argument. If there is a loving and powerful God, then why would God allow so much suffering and injustice? He's all powerful. He has the power to change it. He's all loving. Why does he allow all this suffering? So Vedanta says, don't think of God as an anthropomorphic being sitting in the clouds. God is all-pervasive. This world is nothing but God. So where do you find God? Wherever you find life. That is, I think, the nearest expression to God that you find in this world. Where is life? A plant, a bird, a human being. Wherever you see life, it's like a divine expression. It's an expression of the divine. And another thing is wherever there is love. Love is an expression, like a divine expression. So, let us give out of our own bounty, just as God gives to us. Now imagine that a person gives to others material help, gives to others love, gives to others service. Then the Divine Mother is watching. Oh, this person is giving. Let me give more. Because they will spread it. But if we don't give anything, we close ourselves up and don't share, then the Divine Mother says, oh, they're okay. Whatever I gave, they still have. Why should I give more? So Swamiji says, let us give out of our own bounty, just as God gives to us. When you get something, share with others. God will give you more. It's like a river flowing. You let it flow through you. You just let it flow through you. You will never lack anything. So we have seen why we should give and what to give. And we found that material things actually come last in the list. First is love, service, help, and then comes material help. Without love, how can you give? Even material help comes after love. It's because you feel that need to help that you give material things. First comes the feeling, the love. Now the last question is, how to give? Swami Vivekananda makes a very interesting statement. He says, let the giver kneel down and give thanks. Let the receiver stand up and permit. Now try to picture this in your head. Let the giver kneel down and give thanks. And let the receiver stand up and permit. It's hard to imagine. Normally we think the beggar is below and we are above and we are helping. But you have to picture that the giver is kneeling and giving thanks. And the receiving is allowing him to give. That is what Swamiji says. Let the giver kneel down and give thanks. Let the receiver stand up and permit. So how to explain this statement? Why would Swami Vivekananda say this? That we should kneel down and give thanks when we are helping others, when we are the giver. Why? Swami Vivekananda says, if you do good at all, you do it to yourself. First, it's interesting that he says, if you do good at all, because sometimes we think we are doing good, but it's not really good. There's a nice story that Swami Yatishwarananda tells in his memoirs. I'm sure you have heard it because Swami Chaitananda has mentioned this more than once. So once he was a young man and he met a dog in the street that was very sick with bad wounds. It was in great suffering. So this Swami picked up the dog, he was a student, took it to the lab and asked his friends, let's do something for this dog. So they found some carbolic acid, some antiseptic, and they applied to the wounds and they thought, okay, we have saved the dog. Then he went and did some business, came back after a few hours, found the same dog in the street, dead. So it turns out that antiseptic is okay for external use, but the dog licked the wounds, and that was poisonous, and it died. So the moral of the story is, sometimes we want to do good, but we do more harm than good. The idea was to save the dog, and they ended up killing the dog. So Swami Vivekananda says, if you do good at all, you do it to yourself. Feel that the receiver is the higher one. You serve the other because you are lower than he or she, not because he is low and you are high. According to the scriptures, the giver is lower than the receiver. another puzzling statement. According to the scriptures, the giver is lower than the receiver. It doesn't seem to make sense. How is it possible that the giver is lower than the receiver? Swami Vivekananda himself answers this question. He says, the giver is lower than the receiver because, for the time being, the receiver is God himself, God herself. So, whenever we encounter a situation when we can help others, it is God that is appearing to us. So, when we are serving God, how can we feel higher? We feel lower. Imagine, for instance, when you cook for the special festivals here at the Vedanta Society, some devotees will cook and bring the food. I have observed how is their attitude. It's great humility. Swamiji, I hope it's enough. Or I hope it is everybody likes. I hope it's not too salty. I hope it's not too spicy. They are so humble and so apprehensive that something may go wrong. Why? Because it's for God. When we are doing things for God, we naturally become humble. But when we are helping the beggar in the street, oh, he's a beggar and I am a big guy. So the idea is, whenever you encounter a situation where you can help, have that attitude. It's God that is presenting themselves before me. God is appearing to me in that form. Why should I feel higher? I am lower. I am not helping anybody. I am serving God. I am serving God that comes in that form. That should be our attitude, according to the scriptures. That is why the giver is lower than the receiver, because at that time we consider them as God and we are serving them. In one of the Upanishads, the Taittiriya Upanishad, you find a passage where the teacher is saying farewell to the students after they finish their studies. And he gives some advice regarding this charity. So he says, Shraddhaya deyam, ashraddhaya deyam, shraddhaya deyam. Give with shraddha, give with love, give with faith. In the Gita, Sri Krishna says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam. Whoever gives me, patram, a leaf, pushpam, a flower, phalam, a fruit, toyam, water. Whoever gives me these very simple, ordinary things, like a glass of water, like a fruit, like a leaf, like a flower, I accept this offering if it is given with love. So this is the words of God, that you don't need to give $1 million. You can give such a simple thing as a piece of fruit, as a glass of water. If it is given with love, God will accept it. So, give it with that love, with Shraddha. That is the first injunction from the teacher. Sri Ramakrishna gives a very nice example, tells a very nice story. He says there is a landlord with vast property, and he has many estates, and he travels from one to another to check how everything is going on. So once he came to one of his estates. It's a vast orchard. He has many gardeners employed. He doesn't even know them, of course. And then he was resting in the dining hall of the house, and suddenly one of the gardeners enters and stood there by the door with something in his hand. So the landlord says, hello, what do you need? What do you have there? And he comes to him and says, sir, I picked up this for you. And he gives him a mango. And the landlord is so pleased. He says, oh, this is a fine mango. You picked it for me? Yes, sir, I noticed that this was a very nice mango and I saved it for you. I thought you would like it. He said, oh, this is wonderful. I'll have it tonight. Thank you. It's a delicious mango. I'm sure it will be wonderful. So Sri Ramakrishna tells this story. The landlord is so pleased with this gift. But think about it. The whole orchard belongs to him. All the trees, all the mangoes. So this gardener is bringing him his own mango. He hasn't paid for it. It is his own. Why is the landlord pleased? Because he thought of him. He saved it for him, and he gave it to him with love. It is his own mango. So in Bengali, they have a nice saying, Ganga Jole, Ganga Pujo. That means on some days you worship the river Ganges, and to do that worship, you use Ganges water. So you are offering him what is already his. We cannot give God anything that God doesn't have already. Everything belongs to God. So, Shraddhaya Deyam, give with love. The main thing is love, not what you give. Then the opposite injunction is given. Ashraddhaya Deyam, don't give if you don't have love. Don't. To give without love is better not to give. One example you find in Holy Mother's life, she had a devotee, his name was Amjad, and he was a criminal, but he was very devoted to Holy Mother. So Holy Mother loved him. He had his own shortcomings. There were all kinds of devotees of Holy Mother. So this was one of them. He used to rob people, but at the same time he was a devotee of God. So once the devotees were being fed at Holy Mother's house, and she noticed that Amjad was seated in a corner, and her niece was serving the meal from a distance, just dumping the food on his plate, because she doesn't want to come close to him. So Holy Mother said, can anybody enjoy a meal being served like that? You don't need to do it. I will do it. And Holy Mother herself lovingly fed Amjad. So if you're doing it without love, better don't do it. If you're going to give without love, better don't give. Give with love. Don't give without love. Then, Shriya Deyam, give according to your means. It maybe some billionaire can give millions of dollars, but that's according to their means. We can give very little. It doesn't matter. It's according to our means. So the Upanishad says it is not about how much you give. You just give according to your means. You will find Jesus in the Bible. Once he was in front of the temple, and he saw all these devotees bringing vast sums of gold and money to offer in the temple. And then he saw an old widow just putting 2 copper coins in the box. And he said to his disciples, this widow has given more than everybody else. According to one's means. She doesn't have anything. And yet she gave 2 coins. So Shriya Deyam, give according to your means. I think also it includes, don't give beyond your means. That's also included. I have seen sometimes, even in the Vedanta society, some devotees, in their exuberance of devotion, they may be unemployed, and they still want to give money. So the Upanishad says, don't give. Give according to your means. If you don't have money, then don't. There's nothing wrong. Then, Hiya Deyam, give with humility. We mentioned this already, like when we give to God something, we are very humble. Can we transfer this, expand this attitude so that we are humble at all times, whenever we give something, not just giving offerings to God? Bhiya Deyam, give with fear. What does it mean? That I should be afraid when I give something. Why should I be afraid when I give something? Well, one valid fear would be, let it not get to my head. Let my ego not get involved. Like I have given so much and now I feel that I'm a very good person. I could be afraid of that. I'm afraid that I should not, my attitude should not be wrong. That's a very valid fear. Let me stay humble. Then another important aspect, samvida deyam, give with understanding, with agreement. What does it mean, samvida deyam? Is the receiver happy? Is the receiver going to be benefited by this, or it's just that I want to give my own fancy. Sometimes you see somebody just wants to give. Even at the Vedanta Society, Swamiji, I want to cook for you because it's a special day, blah, blah, blah. And we tell, we have a cook already. Oh no, but please, I want to cook. Yeah, but we have a cook already. It's like, it's a special day, so you want to do it. But how about the person? They already have a cook. So samvida deyam, let there be agreement, let there be understanding. You want to give. Does the receiver want to receive? Once, long ago, I was in a different monastery, and one lady once came with a garland for Sri Ramakrishna in the temple. So she said to the Swami, I have brought this garland for Sri Ramakrishna in the temple. So the Swami was a little hesitant what to say. It's a beautiful, huge garland. Then he said, that's very nice, but there is a person who brings garlands every day. She makes the garland every day, and it's been going on for years. So you're bringing a garland, but we already have a garland. So he said, okay, today is fine, but don't bring more garlands because we already have. So that's the thing. Sometimes we just want to give whatever we want to give without thinking about the other party. Do they want to receive? Do they need? So we are dealing with the question how to give. That's what we are dealing with. In the Gita, you will find chapter 17, Sri Krishna speaks of dhanam, charity. He says there are 3 types of charity. Some are harmful, some are not good, because it's given with the wrong attitude. So what is dhanam, charity, according to the Indian tradition? It is this understanding that when we help others, we are really helping ourselves. That's the bottom line. What is dhanam? The understanding that whenever we help others, we are helping ourselves. So you will find that in India, normally nobody says thank you. So you give something, and they will just bob the head like this. That means, I got it. Huh? Okay. Acknowledged. That's all you will get. You will not get thank you. Why? Because you will get something also. You will get punya, you will get the benefit in some way or other. You are helping somebody, then the cosmic law of the universe, the way the universe works, means that you will get something. You're helping, you will be helped. How? We don't know. When? We don't know. But you're helping somebody, you will be helped. That is the understanding of dhanam. You will find in Sri Ramakrishna's life, his father once went to Rameshwaram, the southernmost tip of India, from Bengal. It took him 1 year on foot. How could he do that? No money, nothing. Dhanam. Whenever he reaches a village, they will feed him. He doesn't even have to beg. You know what they do? They go to the village and they say, Om Namo Narayanaya. That means, glory to God, salutations to God. So when the villagers hear Om Namo Narayanaya, that means there are some pilgrims that need to be fed. So you don't ask, give me food. They know. You're chanting God's name, they will come and give you something, some food. If you need medicine. If you need shelter, they will give you shelter. So that is how in the old days people travel all over India on pilgrimage, sometimes taking years to complete the pilgrimage. Without money, how? Thanks to this tradition. Whenever there is somebody in need, we are supposed to help, no matter who they are. We don't know them, but that is the tradition. We are supposed to help. There's a book called Towards the Goal Supreme. One of our Swamis wrote it. And he mentions this. He says, when the devotees, when the lay person, when they serve the monks and the nuns, they are letting them lead their spiritual lives. A monk, a nun, or a person who is exclusively devoted to spiritual life, they cannot have a job. So how are they going to support themselves? It is through the kindness of these devotees who support them. So this Swami says, the devotees serve the monks. Now we have these monasteries and this organization, and everything is streamlined. So you don't have to come and say, Swami, can I bring you food? Swami, how much do you need? Because the society is taking care of us. But it is through you. You are helping the society, and the society takes care of us. But in the old days, there were no such well-organized monasteries. The monks and the nuns were wandering in India, all over India. So they directly depended on the kindness of others. So Swami says, the devotees serve the monks and the nuns so that they can focus their attention, their time, their energy to their spiritual pursuits. They don't have to worry about food or clothing or medicine or anything. But he says, by doing this service, the devotees are entitled to a share of whatever results the monks and the nuns acquire. So they are practicing meditation, they are practicing self-control, they are practicing so many things. Now suppose they get 100 units of achievement. Well, some of it will go to whoever supported them in that endeavor. So that is the belief in Vedanta. So if you're helping a spiritual person lead a spiritual life, you will get your share from the results of that spiritual life. I remember once I was in India visiting, and I wanted to go sightseeing, see whatever was to be seen in that city. And the Swami appointed one devotee, and he said, he is our close volunteer, he will show you around. And, nice gentleman, we spent half a day seeing the city. So he told me about himself, what he was doing. He said, I have a family, I have children, my wife, she works for some bank. And then I say, and what do you do? What do you do? He said, no, I come to the Vedanta Society every day and do volunteer work. And I say, and what did you used to do before that? He said, no, my whole life I have been coming to the Vedanta Society and doing volunteer work. Then I said, how is it possible? You have your wife, you have your children. He said, yes, when I was young, my family, they are well off. They are diamond merchants. And they noticed that I had an interest in the spiritual life, that I always wanted to go to the monastery. So I said to them, look, I don't want to work. I don't enjoy work. I enjoy being in the monastery and with the Swamis and helping them. So his brother said, okay, you don't have to work. I will help you throughout your life. Now, can you imagine that in the West, here? It's just not going to happen. Huh? You want to think of God, you support yourself. And in your free time, you can think of God. So the mindset is completely different. So the brother said, I will take care of the family business, and I will make sure that you don't lack anything. You go and serve the Swamis. It is because of this. If you are living a spiritual life, you're not wasting your life. You're doing something more important than having a job and earning money. So that idea is ingrained in the culture, in the ancient culture of India. So I was really, to me, it was a very interesting story that this person, his whole life, never had a job. And his brother was okay with that, and he helped him throughout his life. And his wife was okay with that. So the Swami says, the devotees will get a share of whatever result the spiritual seekers, the monastics achieve. But the monastics should be careful and should live a true spiritual life. Otherwise, they will go bankrupt. Somebody is supporting you, but you are not really achieving anything. So whatever little you are getting is leaking through all this help. So that will not work. You have to work hard to become truly spiritual. And then people who support you also will benefit from that. So I think this serves a dual purpose. It encourages people to be generous and helpful, and it encourages the monastics to be careful and austere. You don't want more than you need, because otherwise you are just losing all your spiritual balance. It's going down. So it works both ways. So Sri Krishna, speaking of charity, he talks first about sattvic charity, or spiritual. What is the spiritual way of giving? Is there a spiritual way to give? He says, yes, there are three types of charity. One is a spiritual way of giving, one is a worldly way of giving, and the third one is a harmful way of giving. We won't have time to go deep into this, but I'll tell you just in a nutshell. So the spiritual way of giving, he says, datavyam. Why should we give? Datavyam means because it's the right thing to do. Because I can see that giving is the right thing to do. Not because I have to, not because my friends, peer pressure, whatever, no. It's because it's the right thing to do. So sometimes we do things and they don't have a rational explanation. We just feel that I have to help. I have to get involved. I was reading the other day a true story of a Polish priest who was canonized and became a saint. So he was sheltering Jews during the Second World War, and the Nazis found out, and they sent him to Auschwitz. So he was a Catholic priest, but he was in Auschwitz. So one day, some prisoners escaped, and the Nazis, they decided to teach a lesson to the others to deter any further escapes. So they said, we'll select at random 10 people, and they will be starved to death. So they, from that barracks where they were, the prisoners, they started calling 10 names. So one guy, when his name was read, he shouted, "Oh, my wife, my children, I'll never see them again." It was like a spontaneous cry from this man. So this priest heard this, and he went to the guard and said, "Let me take his place. He has wife and children. I'm a priest. Let me take his place." And surprisingly, the guard said, "Okay, you can take his place." So he died. He was starved to death. But then they turned him into a saint. There was some miracles happen, whatever, and the Pope declared him a saint. But the interesting part is, the person who was saved by him lived another 3 or 4 years in Auschwitz, which was really remarkable, and then was liberated, and he lived for another 50 plus years. And the rest of his life, he was devoted to telling the story of this priest who saved him. So you can see that, why did the priest volunteer? It's something that he felt. And this is the right thing to do. And he just gave up his life. But look at the impact. Not only he saved his life, this guy used to say, "I can never forget this. Every day of my life, I remember the sacrifice that somebody gave their life for me. So my life should be worth it." So, datavyam, why should we give? Because it's the right thing to do. Because we feel in our heart that giving is the right thing to do. It's not because anybody told us to do it. It is a spontaneous feeling that we have. Then Sri Krishna says, "To whom? Anupakarine, to one who cannot give you in return." That is the spiritual thing, the way of giving. You're giving to somebody who cannot return the favor. Otherwise, it's just a transaction. I know that I will give, so that's why. I'll get, so I give in order to get. They say that when the children are about to apply for college admission, the parents increase their donations or start donating to their former school. so that when they apply, the chances of being admitted are boosted. And after admission, they stop. So it is charity, but you can see the angle. Why suddenly this love for their old school? It's only because they're hoping that it will boost the chances of admission, nothing else. So Sri Krishna says, no, that is not the spiritual type of giving. The spiritual type of giving is you are giving to somebody who cannot return the favor. Another example is politicians. Who likes politicians? Nobody. And yet they get lots of gifts. Why? You have to think. Why they get so many gifts and so many free things if everybody despises them? It's because there is a hope of getting something in exchange. So Sri Krishna says, no, when you give, don't give with the expectation of a return. That is a spiritual giving. And ideally, he says, give to one who cannot return anything to you. Then he says, deshe kale chapatrecha, at the right place, at the right time, and to the right recipient. Take into consideration, is this the right time to give? Is this the right person to give? Is this the right place to give? Then he talks about the worldly type of giving. There is a type of giving that is worldly. And he says, that which is given with reluctance, with the hope of a return, or in expectation of a reward, that is said to be rajasic, worldly. Reluctance. One example that you will understand is you go shopping, and then you go to the checkout, and they add up, and at the end they say, would you like to donate to this and this and this? And just think about it, okay? Somebody came up with the idea. Let us do this. When people go shopping and their cart is full and they have the money in their hand and they're going to pay and there are people behind listening, let us ask if they want to give a little money in charity. Somebody came up with this idea. It's so manipulative when you think about it. It's so manipulative. They're putting you on the spot. Everybody's listening. Who is going to say no? Somebody came up with this idea. So with reluctance, okay, yeah, sure, whatever, Many people do that. Yeah, okay. And they say it is the charity they choose. The store will choose the charity. You don't even, they mumble something. You don't even know what it is they will give to. They mumble something. They are in a hurry. They mumble something. Oh, yeah, sure. But that is done with reluctance. We don't really want to give. There is a place to give. We can give in charity to whoever we want, whenever we want, at the right time, at the right place, the right recipient. Why should we put on the spot? So I always say, no, thank you. Politely I decline, just because I don't want to be put on the spot. Yeah, you want $1, but I don't want to give you $1. I'll give to somebody else. Anyway, we all have freedom to do whatever we want. Once I went with a devotee, and Swami Shivarchananda also, and this devotee said, I want to buy you shoes for both of you. Okay. So we bought shoes, and at the end, we are at the checkout, and the usual question, would you like to give something in charity? And she said, the whole thing is a charity. The whole thing is a donation. I love that answer. The guy was like, okay. So that was a very, very sharp reaction. The whole thing is a donation. So, reluctance. That is not the spiritual way. We give because we are being put on the spot. We are just, everybody's watching, so we don't want to give, but we give anyway, reluctantly. Then, hope of a return, we mentioned already, like giving gifts to somebody expecting something else. And then you have the harmful type of charity. Sri Krishna says, that which is given at the improper place and time, to an unworthy person with disrespect or contempt, that gift is said to be tamasic, harmful. Sometimes you see people, they will give a gift just to put somebody down. Huh? I want to show how wealthy I am, so I give you an expensive gift. So you see that sometimes that people give something, but the intention is completely harmful. So that is an unspiritual way of giving. So, one last point. Swamiji said, always take the position of the giver. Give whatever you can. Give love, give help, give service, or any material thing you can. But what about receiving? Receiving is different from taking, okay? When you try to take, you are always looking for your advantage. But receiving is something we cannot avoid. We are always receiving from others. So we have to be aware of that distinction. I want to be a giver, but I want to be able also to receive graciously, because I am forced to receive. So I don't want to be a taker, grabbing, looking for opportunities to grab. But when somebody gives, receive happily, gracefully. So there's a distinction to be made between being a taker and receiving, because we have to receive. Life is give and take. So we want to have the attitude of a giver, trying to help whoever we encounter in our lives. At the same time, we have to be good receivers, that yes, I need help. I am vulnerable. I'm a human being. And whoever wants to help me, that's fine. I'm not going to take, but I'm going to receive. So I think we can stop here. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om peace, peace, peace be unto all.